Hey, welcome back to the Freeze Dry Business Channel. My name is David and I am the host of the Freeze Dry Business Channel. We're here today to focus on entrepreneurs in the freeze drying space, and you're lucky because we're gonna be on site at one of the fastest growing freeze dried ice cream businesses in the entire country. They're booming on TikTok, social media, all over the place because they took their ice cream and made it into a freeze-dried product. They've got a lot of different flavors. They're gonna share a lot of different pieces, mistakes, successes, advice all along the way that you can gather and be inspired to start your own freeze-dried business. All right, so before this was all a freeze-drying effort, you sold ice cream, but tell us about how the family actually started freeze-drying ice cream. Did you start off with actual ice cream, or did you actually have all the product and the cows? What is this family farm all about?
Well, actually, how we started Freeze Dried was there was a local company that approached us and they brought it up to us, and we didn't really know that Freeze Dried was a thing until then. And they kind of focused on the candy, and we decided that maybe we should focus on the ice cream. And so we kind of ran with that idea, and we just implemented what we were already good at. And before you know it,
started doing R&D, and we had a lot of failures. Ice cream blew up in the machines a lot. Variegates do not work the greatest. We figured that out too. Certain variegates.
And what's a variegate? What does that mean?
A variegate would be like a raspberry swirl through it. We would have chocolate. Chocolate's always a bugger because that swirl through too, it doesn't freeze dry. So we've noticed that gets rancid after about 6 months. So we just kept doing R&D, and before you know it, we had 3 that worked really well, so we just started pushing those 3 ice creams.
So there's a lot of R&D that went into this, but you already had the product.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of you saw just an opportunity to test something. When did you actually know that this was going to be a whole secondary line of your family farms product?
well, we kind of noticed that the trend, it's become more people are talking about freeze dried, and so then what we decided to do was kind of start introducing it to some of our partners, and they took it, and as in some of the DSD guys we work with, and they started saying it's just selling. So then we just kind of naturally started going, and then we took it on the online platforms, started kind of introducing some of that, and it's just been moving.
And what we noticed with ice cream, instead of like candy seems like it just like blew up, and it's kind of, ice cream just seems like it's gonna be more consistent. We feel like it's more longevity. So we're hoping that's not just a phase, but I feel like it's just gonna hopefully be long-term.
And these 2 freeze dryers here that you have here, what are these 2 machines for? Because I know you have other ones as well.
These 2 really focus on the candy and Skittles, so we do a line of Skittles, but this is kind of what these 2 do. And if we have any R&D, we'll kind of
We got a couple machines for R&D because that takes time, especially with ice cream.
Yeah.
And then Skittles, Jolly Puffs, or Jolly, which is Jolly Ranchers, we do those too.
cookie dough.
Yeah, tell us about the overall complexity in trying to create an actual freeze-dried product. So you make your own, do you make all of your ingredients on this family farm, or do you source it from different places? Tell us about how you actually make the ice cream to then freeze dry.
We do both. So we do make stuff on our own here with our on-site bakery, and then we also source locally, or even we go further out too, but just good sources of products that we have.
You got to use good ingredients when you're running through the freeze dryers. If you're going to spend that much time freeze drying your product, you want to make sure that the end result is good.
Yeah.
So that's what we really focus on, is really good quality ingredients. Any baked good concepts can be a little tricky sometimes. It's just kind of like the ice cream part of it. You don't know what it's going to end up like until you run it through the machine, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
And how long would you say it took to like actually refine your product? Let's timeline wise, how long did it take for you to actually know your recipe and say, we're running this every time? And now that you're like, really doing well in your sales, but just like, what was the timeline?
Longer than you think. I still think we're still doing that.
I don't think it ever ends.
No, because like when we put our ice cream in a blast freezer, it's at -25, and if that thing is at -15, that affects the freeze dryers, and we will have these things bubble up. So we're still dealing with that. We just everything has to be precise. We gotta make sure these things are cooled all the way down to -20 and stuff like that. So I feel like we still have some human error in our situation, but we're always still learning.
But it takes forever.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. It's a couple of years just to dial in some of the certain kinds of flavors. On the other side of it, on our frozen side, it took us how many years just to figure out our base concept and our ice cream? About 3 years to figure that out.
Vanilla was the hardest one to figure out for us, because that's your base.
For everything else.
Vanilla ice cream was the hardest for our family to figure out, and we all did it together, and we got it figured out, but it took us about 2 years before we started the creamery.
What are your thoughts on now, because I sell a lot of fruit in my freeze drying business of my own, but a lot of people are doing freeze dried fruit. Have you thought about implementing freeze dried fruit in the ice cream? Have you experienced with powderizing freeze dried fruit and then mixing it into naturally flavor? Anything like that?
So we are dabbling in some purees, and we'll do some fruits, but you know, we had a hard enough time just getting strawberry ice cream to go, and we still haven't figured out peach ice cream or any of that yet, because it just
and our strawberry ice cream is just ice cream and strawberries, ground up. That's all it is. So kind of to your point is fruit is like, and we notice that's the easiest one here to work on the machine is our strawberry ice cream. That we don't ever have issues with it. But
we're excited to start new fruit.
Okay.
And new flavors of ice cream. I think we're just going to focus really heavily on ice cream and ice cream flavors because that's what we're good at and that's what we enjoy. Yeah. So.
And so tell us, I'm going to move over here a little bit, but like tell us a little bit about these machines. You know, there's a lot of different brands of freeze dryers out here. I personally started with the Harvest Right like this. I don't have an Excel, but Harvest Right has been a real big staple in freeze drying for almost over a decade as of this video. But how'd you choose to come to decide this type of machine, this brand, first of all?
It's everywhere out there. Yeah. Which, like you said, it's been a staple. Yeah. And then they slowly got bigger. So this is just a 6 tray, but everything else we have are 7 trays, and they work really well with the ice cream net for us. But we did go to a big, large commercial units that did not work for us in our ice cream. So that
worked on candy.
It worked on candy, just not ice cream. So we struggled for a year trying to figure those out.
Yeah.
So we just went back to Harvest Right.
Awesome.
Now, until you can grow to the next level.
Yeah.
You get a big commercial.
I think they're a good stepping stone, honestly.
Yeah.
This works for us. So.
That's a good point. I've interviewed a lot of different freeze drying manufacturers, and I've also interviewed several experts in the industry that have dealt with vacuums, all that type of thing. And what we're all finding in this growing freeze drying space is every recipe is unique. But once you find a freeze dryer that meets that need to get that recipe coming out with that finished product, it's like it's go time, and you just run with it. So
once you figure it out,
yeah,
it's go time. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It takes a while to get there, but you keep at it, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.